Kirsten Kukowski is the National Press Secretary for the Republican National Committee. Kirsten, it's nice to see you this morning, and I want to start out with your reaction to Ben LaBolt, what he had to say earlier, and the mixed messaging that people have been watching, starting from Eric Bernstrom to Reince Priebus, then on to Mitt Romney giving that interview yesterday about what he feels about the penalty being a fee or a tax.
Hi, Thomas. Thanks for having me on.
So what is the message with all of this? How come it's so muddled and the RNC is not demonstrating a little more guidance, that is, to the Romney campaign on how to fire back at what the president's campaign would allege?
I don't agree with the premise of your question, Thomas. I actually, we believe, and we have been doing a very, very good job of talking about this as a tax. It's been very clear that the Supreme Court ruled it's a tax. It's very clear that President Obama's Solicitor General went into court arguing that it is a tax, and we've been very clear about that.
As the RNC then overseeing the party, then, if you're very clear about this, then why is your candidate not?
Oh, but I think yesterday he was very clear and said that this is the Supreme Court said this is a tax.
But isn't that because Eric Bernstrom came out
Obamacare as a tax?
Isn't that because Eric Bernstrom came out on our air, Kirsten, and said that they agreed with President Obama, and then the right recoiled, and now it's a bit of the tail wagging the dog that Mitt Romney has to come out and explain himself when he had Eric Bernstrom, the person, the guy who created the Etch-a-Sketch for the campaign, to come out and say that they agreed with the president.
Well, I actually think that as we sit, several months before an election, what the American people are paying attention to right now is the fact that the Supreme Court of the United States ruled, President Obama's signature pieces of legislation a tax. When the president went out and sold it to the American people in 2009, saying it was not a tax, then sent his own Solicitor General into court saying it is a tax. And now I think when we're talking about muddled messaging, I listened to Ben LaBolt earlier today where he was actually, arguing whether or not this is a penalty or a tax. And I have to say that the American people believe that this is a tax. The Supreme Court has ruled it is a tax. And at the end of the day, that is what this president is going to be, that's what the American people are going to weigh on him.
Kirsten, is it hard then to consider that the governor from Massachusetts is a tax-raising governor that will lead the GOP ticket?
Right now, we are talking about Obamacare, and we are talking about the Supreme Court of the United States ruling Obamacare as a tax.
All right, so when we talk about that's what the Supreme Court has ruled, the messaging, though, from Mitt Romney and the campaign, for those that have been paying attention, might be a little confused and left scratching their head. But right now, again, that is all cleared up. The Romney campaign, the RNC, everybody on the same page here feeling that it is a tax.
It is a tax, yes. Okay.
Kirsten, the Obama team and the campaign slapping different labels on your candidate that can be politically toxic in swing states like Ohio and Pennsylvania. The term of outsourcer of U.S. jobs. Now there's this new AP report detailing Romney's offshore bank accounts in Bermuda. It is completely legal, and according to the report, legally omitted from his financial reports, also talking about money that he has in Switzerland and that Swiss bank account. Linked to outsourcing offshore bank accounts, are you worried? Is the RNC worried that your candidate is being defined nationally by everyone but the Romney campaign?
Well, talking about outsourcing, I think that there have been several fact checks that have fact checked the Obama campaign's attacks as completely false. And what you have here is you have the president's team trying to distract from the fact that if anybody is an outsourcer in this election, it's actually the president. When you talk about the millions of stimulus dollars that have gone overseas to create jobs overseas instead of what they were supposed to do with the stimulus, which is create jobs here, which I think we've argued for several years he hasn't done. So at the end of the day, what we really need to be talking about is what the president promised to do over the last 3.5 years and what he hasn't done. And that's what we're going to really be talking about as we have our bus tour with Governor Jindal and Governor Pawlenty in Ohio and Pennsylvania. And we're going to make sure that we're holding the president's feet to the fire and answering questions about what he promised to do and what he hasn't done, including outsourcing.
Kirsten Kukowski with the RNC. Kirsten, nice to see you this morning. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
A lifeguard risking his life to save another.